So the thing I've really been focusing on this month has been the gold and silver markets. And I don't
Okay.
just mean, going into, oh, what's spot gold doing? I've been really doing a deep dive into what's sort of been going on there. Because as you've probably seen, the gold and silver spot markets have really pulled back over the last couple 2 months or so.
Yep.
They're tough. They're down like I think around 30% right now or something in that range. And I had an interesting conversation about it recently, and I do not see things improving for the gold market anytime soon. So if I'm going to go ahead and say something like that, what I want to do is figure out like some of the more nuances of how this stuff works. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Right.
So I've been looking into just like, the sort of business flows of miners versus bullion, just owning bullion outright versus say, what is crypto really compared to
Mhm.
gold, that sort of thing. Also, just sort of what the demands are going to be from the different central banks. I'm really kind of thinking about gold in a whole different sort of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because I mean, I'm not sure if, you know, it, when you're saying gold to me, I'm thinking traditional like gold, like I guess we were saying like bullion or like some sort of like
Bullion.
there's like I guess some sort of like if I were to go to the market and buy gold, I would probably, punch in either I think there's probably what is there a gold ETF or is there just like gold futures or something along those lines and that's just what it is, just gold, right? And
Hmm.
then I'm not sure if you're so then you're talking a lot more other facets of gold. So I guess I'm not really sure what those other facets are that you're talking about.
Well, that's a good, yeah. That's kind of what I set out to figure out.
Right.
So on the
'Cause-
my basic idea, like, why do I want to own gold?
Well, I guess can I take
I'm
it
trying
back
to
one
like
second?
make the case why owning gold is a good idea. That's really what I've been
Well,
trying to
I
do.
guess
I have no
look,
gold exposure.
well, can I just go back one go even more basic than that, right? So when you're looking to trade something, right? Gold is under the commodities exchange, right? So in the commodities exchange, just as a brief overview of that, like physical things, right? Rather than ownership of a stock, right? You could physically buy a share of gold and get that gold delivered to you in a commodities exchange,
Well,
theoretically,
yes and
right?
no. Yes and no.
Mhm.
So, and this is the once you get into it, it starts to become this weird little thing. What you're thinking of is like gold futures and
Mhm.
spot versus spot gold contracts.
Mhm.
So, yes, gold is traded on the COMEX, which is, part of now CME Group, and you could look up what the price of gold is per ounce for delivery in, say, or in July, let's say SEP, like let's say the end of the quarter. You could buy that, and it's a standard contract specification, and you what you'd be getting. So this is where it gets like you take delivery of that, quote unquote. You take delivery of the contract. What are you actually getting? What you're
Right.
actually getting is a deposit receipt saying that the bars sitting in this location now have your name associated with it, and
Mhm.
you have claim to them.
Right.
And you are then theoretically responsible for any carrying costs that may be accrued by them being there.
Hmm.
And then like so you don't actually like no, like a dump truck doesn't come and deliver gold to
Right.
your house. That's not how it
Right.
happens.
Yeah, it's gotta be more secure, I guess.
So like in the modern world, there's a lot of different ways you can have exposure to gold. Like you can do ETFs in gold. But then again, it's like, well, what are you really owning? You're owning a company that owns gold bars, which
Right.
are in a third place, probably there in a vault next to that other gold bar you bought, and that has their name on it.
Right.
So it's like, well, what are you really getting? You
I
know,
don't know. That's what I that's
it's like,
like
and so you can go the other way about it, where you say, well, oh, the dollar's going to go down, the drain, and all this stuff is going to happen. It's like, well, like, okay, I bought gold and now I own gold in a doomsday scenario where like things actually turn into Mad Max and everyone's like, oh, I gotta have my gold because the dollar is gonna go away.
what does that
What are you
mean?
gonna do
Yeah.
with it?
You're right. Seriously, are you gonna smelt it down and
It's
and
like first of all, like if you get like an ounce of gold, like by weight,
yeah, yeah,
I looked it up. It's like 6.5 pounds.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So what are you gonna you're gonna carry around like your life savings? You're gonna be dragging around say like a 25 pound weight, a 50 pound weight all day.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, what are you
you're
gonna do
gonna
with
have
it?
your little satchel around your waist, and Little John and Robin Hood are gonna have their gold coins in the guy's boot, and they're
Well, at least then we get back to coins. Like we can
yeah,
like
well, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
actually
Yeah,
use.
like I guess that's another question is that yeah, if you physically had that gold, like how? Let's assume we were back on the gold standard and we we had to use the gold as like you
Well,
go
the
down and buy
reason
your
we got
bread and
off the
milk.
gold, so I went on the history deep dive of gold. I like knew a lot of this stuff I kind of know from like just
Yeah.
studying economic history, but I went back and like remembered like what happened like the Nixon shock where we went off the gold standard and what did that really do and what did that really mean and blah 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 and it's like but like it's like give me a reason to own why should I own gold? I've really been like trying to figure out
Why?
like give me
Right.
the
So from what I'm hearing, I mean, I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like you said outright that you don't think it's going to start to turn around and that there's really no good case to own gold. Is that kind of what you're leaning towards, or?
so yes, I don't think that
Yes. Okay.
uh
And
next
good segment.
segment.
Good segment.
Uh I am of the opinion so under because it what I'm coming around to is like there's kind of like I guess three camps.
Mhm.
There's like the crazy preppers who want their gold to have like because they think like everything's going to go to hell, which is
Right.
actually like a terrible plan, right? If anything, you'd want to like sell the gold now, get money to then buy supplies,
Right.
and
Right.
then have your
Right. Right.
supplies, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
you have in the other camp, you have all of these like gold is entirely worthless. Like
Mhm.
gold is the dumbest thing. It's just a shiny piece of metal, like blah blah blah. Like it's you get like this very like
So
literalists talking about how
yeah.
gold is nonsense. And then you have
Mhm.
like kind of like the main like a normal modern market where you have a purpose for gold.
Mhm.
There is a reason to keep gold. Like there's some reasoning behind it,
Mhm.
you know? And the answer that I can figure out is that it's because it's an absolute amount. Like there's only a fixed people don't realize like how much gold do you think is in like in the vaults? Like
Uh,
by volume. Like how much gold like if you were to fill
are we measuring
could
this
you
in
fill
swimming
like could
pools or
you fill
elephants
Lake
or?
Michigan with like if you took all of the gold, could you fill
Yeah.
like Lake
No.
Michigan?
No.
Could you
No.
fill
I would imagine that it's a very small, a relatively small amount of like in the grand scheme of things. Like Lake Michigan is huge. Like I'm thinking smaller than that. Like if we were to take all the physical gold bars that we had, like could they fit into? Um.
plus jewelry,
Uh.
plus whatever, plus this, plus that?
Yeah. I mean, if you were to take, I guess, are we talking like all the gold in the world ever that's existed?
Yes.
Um.
Like
Uh.
every piece of gold that we have available to us.
I mean,
Like the Egyptian
yeah,
masks, that's gold. You take that
yeah.
and you throw it on the pile.
All the Spanish doubloons that are at the bottom of the sea and
Right. Like
all of that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody at some point figured it out, and it's a relatively
there's an
shockingly
absolute
small
answer and I
amount.
know it.
Yeah. Let me think. Okay. So can you give me? Are we talking like swimming pools or elephants or what kind of unit of measure? Awkward unit of measurement are we talking about? Are we talking about
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Like
let's
how,
see, let's see, ice cream cones. Let's say, no, I would say it's probably something along the lines of like a dumb room measurement. I don't know. What's a famous room? I'm trying to think here. I don't know. The Oval Office. Let's say, can it all fit inside the Oval Office?
that's actually not that
Not that
far
far off.
off.
That's what
Um,
I'm trying to think like because you got to realize that like a lot of that gold, if you were to put it into one solid chunk, you know, squeeze out all those voids,
you could
there
take it
probably isn't a whole
all. I'll
lot
tell
of
you,
it.
you could put it all, and you could put it onto onto like like a baseball diamond.
Yeah, like yeah, that makes
Like if you
sense.
just
Yeah.
made a big
Well, how
square,
tall is
it'd be
that?
like about the size of like the infield.
But how tall?
It's a square, Thomas. It's Think about the infield of 90 feet to first.
Yeah,
It's a square,
okay,
and it's a
okay, but
cube.
volume is in three dimensions.
So it's a
So how high
cube.
is
It's
that
a
cube?
cube.
Okay,
It's a
okay,
cube,
so okay, cube. Okay, all right, yeah.
right?
Okay,
But
that
so here's my point though. That's pretty much a fixed
yeah,
point. Like
okay,
that number doesn't change.
right,
So gold becomes like the speed of light for economics. It's like this
constant.
constant that you can use. And
Yeah,
that's kind of the long and short of what I think gold is good for. But it is interesting to really like pipe down and think it through. Like, what is this? Like, why do I have this? Why would I have this? So I've been thinking a lot about gold and silver recently. It's been a good run.
yeah.
But now I think we're ready to move on to the next topic. Are you ready to see some charts?
I love charts. Everybody loves charts.
Everybody loves charts. Alrighty, so we're going to try to keep this going with our chart segment. I think it'll be a winner in the long run. And part of that is because we're using TradingView, which is excellent. And for any newcomers, code TraderDads will get you a discount on your TradingView.com subscription. TradingView is great. I use it in Substacks. I use it for normal analysis. So TraderDads in TradingView.com will get you a discount. Check it out. All right, so we have the normal SPX up. We have a daily chart up. I think this is what we're going to start with on the month over month check-in. What I'm seeing here is we're getting ready to move higher. That's what I am seeing out of this. We have had our consolidation month after a nice breakout, and now we are going to get ready to move higher. It's pretty straightforward. I think we're going to just pop, and then I think we're probably going to see a test back down this fall, probably around the time maybe there's renewed chatter of a Fed hike, and then we will head upwards into next year. I think we're looking at that for the SPX. And if we jump over to the Qs, not quite as pronounced. We're not quite ready to break out there, but I do think it's going to come again. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 760 before Labor Day. So here we go. We got our index charts today. I think we are looking at a pretty bullish setup. What do you think there, pal?
I mean, I think it's a little clearer on the SPX if you were to go back to that. There's a lot of noise, it looks like, in the last couple of days. But yeah, this looks to me like it's gonna near that top that was in, I guess, the end of June or beginning of June right
That
there.
was
And if
the
you
we
look
topped around June 1, June 2.
right, so it's gonna it looked like it was coming up to get close, and then it's looking to retest that top, and then if you break through that, then you're probably gonna be heading up. That to me looks a lot clearer. But if you go back to the Qs, then that seems a lot more muddy, and it doesn't seem like there's a clearer trend. It seems like it's you know, there might be a little bit of disjointness between the SPX and Qs right there. It looks like the Qs you can make an argument that it's starting to trend down, um, and then is it going to bottom out right kind of where it's been hitting around 700? We'll see. It might go down before it goes up again. I think that's kind of more likely that it might hit the 700 again and then bounce off that 700 and then start to head up towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not as pronounced. What I think we have taken into account is that we're going to see second quarter earnings start to be released, and
Mm,
that is really the coiling I think we're seeing here. I think that as soon as some of the because what will happen is the S&P will announce first
hmm
overall, like they are getting more information
mm,
about what's in the S&P 500 earlier
hmm
because we're going to start to see banks and whatnot with their releases first. They are already granting some, previews, some whispers, some sense. So I think what this is saying is that the larger group is starting to see a positive earnings quarter. And
hmm
because the cues for NASDAQ, because tech companies tend to report later,
Right,
it just hasn't gotten as much information and whisper prints yet from
right.
analysts like giving their last forecasts before the final announcements come. So I think relatively speaking, like I'd be buying Qs and selling SPX over the next month into earnings. I think Qs, if earnings pop, Qs will pop a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. With the timing of the earnings, if you take a look, go back to the SPY chart or SPX charts rather, then you are probably spot on where the retest, if you look at that shape, and if that information is kind of front running the Qs, then the Qs is probably about a week or two up to that point where it's going to start to come closer to that retest at the top. So yeah, I mean that makes sense. If by the beginning of August, that might be looking to go back up to with the Q value, I should say, would be going back up to kind of where the overall highs were, or getting
Yeah,
back up to where those retests were in those spots. So probably around between 740 and 750.
I would agree with that. Yep, I think that's definitely where we're heading. So we
Yeah.
shall see. All right, before we finish up charts, let's just take a quick look at gold. So this is what I was referring to when we had the major run up and then we went back down. So what did this actually come out to be? This was from actual pop to trough, 29%, 30%. So yeah, I was right on. I really can't see us getting much above, say, 4,500.
Is that year to date, you said?
This is yeah, this is last year. This is a daily. We'll always
Well,
start
you're
with a
saying that that,
simple
that drop
daily
of 20
chart.
that drop of 29%, that's like from the beginning of the year, you're
Oh,
saying?
that is from, yeah, that's
Or the
from
all-time
when
high.
we topped in January
Yep.
down.
Gotcha.
So we're down
Yep.
30% coming into the end of the second quarter.
Hmm. Yep.
Same with silver. Same with silver. And I don't see it really getting back over that 74, 75 range on silver this year either. I think it's just you're not gonna that sort of run up followed by this, it doesn't just like reverse up again. It's gonna take some time for that
W w was
catalyst.
there was there any significant news towards the end of last year that was causing that run up? Was there? I can't remember if there was anything that was causing that because I mean that's.
There were several things. Silver was a little bit more of an industrial story. With gold, it was a little bit more of a geopolitical story. We won't rehash that here because I'd have to go back and double
Mhm.
check 6 months ago what the main catalysts were. But silver was a little bit of an industry story because the precursor to all of the memory chips that are now hot needed some of the silver inputs. And
Mhm.
then gold, we were getting ready to probably invade Iran. I think that's in two sentences the easiest way to give
Yep,
that.
makes sense.
So unless, but you know what? You never know. We're going to invade Iran again. Might do it
Yeah, mhm.
again. You don't know.
You never know.
So yeah, and we'll just close it out. My last thought here, Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin
Mm.
is finally starting to bottom. I think there's some sentiment change coming in Bitcoin. I think maybe now we might finally start to curve back up, head back up towards the 80s range, start to test this again.
Would
So
your feelings on gold, on the commodities, transfer over to Bitcoin in terms of the same way as it's called digital gold?
no, I have very different opinions on them. I think of Bitcoin very much in terms of a blockchain technology, not as like an economic store of value.
Mm. Okay.
Like I think that's really like when the agentic account, like when agents start to have their we'll call it their
Ledgers.
online credit card moment, where
Hmm.
suddenly people trust agents to spend money. I think you're going to
Hmm.
see a real like structural demand change for Bitcoin because it'll be able to operate in the blockchain, which will
Hmm.
make the agents much more truthful in managing it. Like it'll be an extra level of security
Right.
to allow an agent to operate on a blockchain because it's very black and white. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other thing. That might come up maybe later in the year. That's interesting.
Yep. Yep.
But all right. That was a long chart segment.
Everybody loves charts though, so it's okay.
Everybody loves charts. We can talk about charts all day, I know. As much as I would just love to sit and talk about charts all day.
Yep.
Uh let's keep it moving, my friend. So